Have you ever wanted to discover what's missing in your life? Metaphysics is available to all and is part of your life even if you don't know it. Welcome to Metaphysics, a view through the veil with Barb Crowley. Together we'll explore the mysteries behind metaphysics and how to use it to have a deeper understanding and advantage in life. And now here's your host, Barb Crowley.
Hi, this is Barb Crowley, and welcome to Metaphysics, a view through the veil. Today we're talking to Steve Burgess about the adventures of the hypnotherapist, more specifically about his most unusual and dramatic experiences as a hypnotherapist and regression specialist. Some of the more strange aspects: alien, abduction, regression, spirit release, life-saving surgery without any anesthetic. I want to know about that. And even meeting and working with Charles Bronson, Britain's most violent prisoner. Steve's been on my show before, and we had a great time then, and we're going to have a great time now. And I have personally worked with Steve with my own regression, and it was eye-opening. Definitely not as dramatic as some of your other clients, but pretty eye-opening. I'm so glad to have you back on the show. I thoroughly enjoy talking to you, as you know. And glad to have you back and have a new book coming out of you. So thanks for being on, Steve.
No, it's my pleasure, Barb. I enjoyed the last time 4 years ago. Can you believe it?
I'm shocked at that. So tell me, why'd you do the new book?
Well,
Just had so many more people to put in?
Well, in a way, I mean, the previous book was The Power of Past Life Regression, which focused solely on past life regression as a therapeutic process, and many of my clients' cases, helping them to heal such a wide variety of issues, you know, phobias, depression, lack of confidence, physical issues, etc., etc.
Failure, success.
Yeah, well, exactly, and how well it's worked for them. But for me, I'm much bigger than just a past life regression therapist, because I've experienced so many other things within the hypnotherapy profession over the last 33 years. So what I wanted to do was write a book that gives a much broader spectrum. The core of it is regression, so there's a lot of regression cases. But this time I'm talking also a bit more about ancestral regression as well. So this is releasing traumas from our ancestors' lives that we inherit. But I also wanted to, there's some funny chapters in there. There's some of my own spiritual awakening in there. And then, as you said, some of the more really unusual cases that I've been involved in. So alien abduction cases, spirit release work, working with, and some very serious stuff as well, working with clients who were being sexually abused as children. And certainly one chapter
in a previous lifetime, or
in
here?
This lifetime.
In this lifetime.
And it's interesting you say that, because I often find if they've been abused in this life in childhood, it's very often happened in previous lives as well. And
why is that? Why?
Well, it's the same person very often.
Oh my God, the repeating.
Been reborn into this life. Yes.
Yeah. And why would they repeat it? Do they have to come to a conclusion, or?
It can be a variety of reasons. I mean, this is sort of the metaphysical question, you know, how does karma work? But in some cases, it's for the client to be able over several lifetimes to come to terms with things that have been happening with them, and to be able to let go of the pain from the past, and ultimately to be able to forgive if necessary, if forgiveness is necessary. On the other hand, of course, within the past life spectrum, sometimes we are living a life for somebody else to learn. So it could be that the abuser over these lifetimes, each time, is learning eventually that they can't do that anymore. They've got to let it go. And so it's almost like then my client as the victim. I mean, it sounds horrible and strange, but my client as the victim is actually helping someone else over many lifetimes to grow and to move on.
I actually understand that. To me, that's a soul service person, a service person from your soul family that is here for your benefit.
That's good.
Really?
Because we
Yeah.
do. We live in these clusters of souls, and the closer in our cluster of souls, the more significant people are, and we swap roles and we swap relationships over many
And
lifetimes
experiences. Yeah.
and experiences. And of
Yeah.
course, it's a long-term thing, and this is one of the things we live a human life and we get stuck in this body and in this viewpoint of just this lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get out of that and say, but we've lived, I mean, Tibetan Buddhism says we've lived countless lives over countless aeons of existence. And of course, although I haven't put this in this book, this will probably be the next book.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients nowadays have had past lives on other planets
Yeah.
as other life forms,
Other
as
dimensions.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah. In other
And they are
dimensions.
being
Yeah.
reborn now as star
Yeah.
seeds on Earth to help with the Great Awakening.
Mhm.
So it's a much bigger view. And I
Yeah.
often feel that regression therapy especially, not only does it heal our issues brilliantly, but also helps a person to lose a fear of dying. Because
Right.
when you realize, because as you know from your experience, Barb, a
Right.
lot of regression therapy is death therapy, is
Mhm.
going through deaths in past lives. But when you
And
realize
it does take, I
many
have to say,
times,
it does take the fear away, because when you relive your death in a past life and you feel it, you're actually living it. But it's not what we think it is.
no,
It's
no,
it's a release, and your body is separate,
of
you know.
course. And then the
Yeah.
peace and the freedom that people
Right.
feel when they're in
Right.
spirit, having gone through that.
Mhm.
So that happens as well. But there's a deeper understanding then of that
Yeah.
we've lived many lifetimes. So we become less hooked into this present lifetime and all
Right.
of its traumas, etc., etc. So it makes this life easier to bear.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I often find, I mean, my spiritual practice nowadays is non-duality, is oneness.
Right.
And I often find that as a result of regression therapy, people often come to a sort of a viewpoint, a spiritual viewpoint of oneness, of non-duality, that everything just is.
Mhm.
Everything is. And when you live life like that, there are no more traumas because everything just is.
Right.
I mean, that's a long-term thing. But so there are so many benefits from doing this type of therapy from a spiritual perspective.
If here's a question I've always had. If you truly know, while you're human in a lifetime, how big it is and how immense it is, how do you stay engaged in your life?
Mm.
The Buddhists spend a lot of time trying not to be engaged, but then again, why did you birth
Yeah,
yourself into the earth plane where
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to be engaged,
Yeah. It's that balance, isn't it? It's about
Mhm.
being engaged, but not hooked into it. It's
Yeah,
almost like people call it mindfulness, really, don't they? So you are
yeah,
mindful,
yeah.
you're in the world, but you're not of the world.
Mhm.
And that's not an easy gig. It
I
isn't
was gonna
easy.
say I haven't achieved that.
No, and most people
Yeah.
don't. But it is possible with with meditational practices, etc.,
Mhm.
etc. Over time to actually get to that particular that way of living, that mind frame,
Right,
really.
right. And be able to release it in the time.
Well, I
As you
you see,
tense up, it's like, "Oh, wait a minute, release."
yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe, however, that working in regression, because for me it's the most powerful therapy that there is on earth.
Mhm.
Uh, and I say that having looked at lots of other therapies and trained with them and tried them over the years.
Right.
I think regression is the deepest and the most powerful. And it helps us to let go of just being hooked into the mundane all the time. It
Mhm.
gives us a bigger viewpoint, a much bigger viewpoint of eternity, of the eternal, and we
Right.
are all eternal, of course.
But the truth is, if I want to hire somebody, I want them hooked in.
Okay. Well,
Because
there is
I've
that.
actually had people, there's a Buddhist community here, and I've hired Buddhists,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
they're not hooked in. Their
No.
whole belief is to not be
Yes,
owned by it. You know, well, I need you hooked in.
yeah, yeah.
I know.
Well, it's the old thing, we are spiritual beings in a human body, so we have to do human things.
Right, right. And we cut
Be
off
human.
that memory, that knowledge to be fully here, to experience fully
Yes,
here.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Let me
yeah.
ask you, you said past life regression is the most powerful. How does that differ than, let's say, if I, as a psychic, are looking at somebody's past lives and how I only look at the ones that are impacting this life because we could go on forever.
Yes.
But how is that different than making them go back through it or me telling them about it?
You telling them about it can begin a process of healing. That's my
Mhm.
feeling of this, because I know a lot of psychics who do the same.
Right.
And I think a client having that awareness of a past life means
Mhm.
that awareness is always half the battle. If you're not
Right.
aware of something, you'll continue the same patterns.
Yeah.
So, on one level, if you have an awareness of past lives or past lives which are impacting now, you can start to unpick that to some degree.
Mhm.
And my sense is that by unpicking it, the the way in which you are being impacted becomes reduced. It can be lessened. Personally, I wouldn't believe that it could be fully cleared and fully released, because my
Without the
viewpoint is
experience.
you have to go into it. You have
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
into it. And the regression model is that all of our issues as human beings come from locked in feelings and emotions from past traumas. All of our issues.
Mhm.
And therefore, if we can go into those traumas, and it sounds scary, and a lot of people think, oh, it's terrifying and scary. It isn't. I mean, it's
No.
it's a bit nervy, and sometimes it can be quite dramatic. But all we're doing often is just releasing tears, or we're releasing energy in the body, so
Mhm.
the body shakes and things like that. But if we're able to do that, and by the way, it is perfectly safe as long as you get a therapist who knows what they're doing.
Right.
Um, then if
And
you're able to
there's
do that,
also a little bit of a separation.
yes,
It's
there
not
is.
like
It's
you're
not like
in
you're
it,
there.
like yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So, if you have pain in a death in a past life or in a past life injury, you don't
Mhm.
usually feel the pain in the
No, you
session.
know you're in pain and you
You'll
know
know it.
how it
You'll,
makes you move
yes,
or whatever.
exactly.
But the pain, the depth of the pain is
In
not
most
there.
cases,
Yeah.
very occasionally, we get somebody who is very, very, very hypnotic, which is
Mhm.
hardly ever. And therefore, they may experience the pain, but we
Right.
have
Right.
techniques to bring them away from that, etc. But
Right.
it's mainly about releasing the emotion, the anger, the sadness, the fear, the anxiety, the guilt,
Mhm.
which is in the past life or in
And
any
then
past
knowing
experience.
yourself too. The
Well,
knowing yourself.
you get an understanding.
Mhm.
Again, there's also the other aspect, and it's clever that you've said that. The other aspect of regression therapy is getting some learning or understanding from what's happened in the past. It makes sense of what's happening now. And
Right.
that learning and understanding, again, is awareness is half the battle. So often with regression, we get these two healing aspects. One is releasing the energies, the emotions.
Mhm.
Two is getting an understanding of why it's like that. Oh, my mother's never liked me in this life. No wonder I killed her in a past life, or she
Yeah.
killed me in a past life.
Right.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Duh. Yeah.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
that's the healing. You
Mhm.
know, you see
So
everything
that
from a completely
releases
different
you
perspective.
and gives you understanding, but does it
Understanding,
release your mother too?
yeah, and the mother as well. And
Yeah.
we often find again. So I talk about in the book ancestral regression, where
Mhm.
we inherit traumas from our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, great grandparents, great. They can
Right.
go
Tell
back
me about that because we've not
generations.
talked about that before.
No, and it's the forgotten aspect
Right.
of regression therapy. So usually, let me give you an example of a client, and this is
That'd be
the case
great.
study in the
Yeah.
book. Excuse me. So this is a lady who came to me with a combination of anxiety-based issues. So she had trichotillomania. Okay, now trichotillomania is known as hair pulling.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So somebody
You
was
actually,
obsessively pulling the
you
hair
pull
out.
your hair out of your head
Yeah,
or just
they
pull it?
actually pull the hair out.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one form of it. I had another client who was a girl, a woman, and her form of it was she had to obsessively shave her legs for hours before
Oh,
she could
wow.
go out with a boyfriend. And even if
Yeah.
she'd been shaving them for 2 hours before she went out with a boyfriend, she'd then go onto the legs with tweezers and pincers
Oh
to try
my
to.
God. Yeah.
This is another form of it. I had another lady years ago who came to me. She called me on the phone, and this is when because as you know, I do all my sessions online nowadays, but
Right.
in those days it was in my office. And she called me. She said, "I've been pulling my hair out. Can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, there's a reason for it. We can work on that." That was to do with her bad relationship with her mother, as it happens. But she sat in front of me in my office, and she had a beret on, one of these French berets.
Oh, yeah, beret. Yeah.
Flat things, beret, you would say, yeah.
Yeah, that's American version.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, and there was hair. She had hair. So she sat in front. I said, "But I thought you said you were been pulling your hair out, trichotillomania." So she said, "Yes." And she took a beret off, and her head was completely bald.
Oh, wow.
Not from a ring of hair that
Yeah.
she kept, so that when she put the beret on, it looked like she had hair.
Wow.
This particular lady, she had anxiety, she had teeth grinding. Every night she was grinding her teeth down, damaging her jaw. A dentist was so concerned for her. But
Right.
her trichotillomania was pulling her eyelashes out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's painful. This stuff's
Oh,
painful.
exactly. Well, of
Yeah.
course, remember that to some degree it's a self-punishment thing. There's a self-punishment aspect sometimes to trichotillomania. I deserve this pain. So in this lady's case, there were all three regression areas that we worked in. We worked in her childhood because she had a tough childhood. We did work healing her inner child. There were quite a
So
few
you're talking about in the current life. So
in
you
her current life,
so you
yes.
regress to the current life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the three areas of regression: this life, past lives, ancestral lives. And we did work healing her inner child. And very quickly, she stopped pulling her eyelashes out. Very quickly, within 2 or 3 sessions, just gone. But the teeth grinding remained. So we were then working in past lives and ancestors' lives. So now the past lives, she was in Victorian times in England. She was a man who inherited the family factory and put a load of money in it to try to keep the factory going. Worked himself virtually to death, but the factory eventually failed after many years. It went bust.
Wow.
And this was just too much for this poor man. The stress of doing this year after year. Finally, it just beat him. And after the factory died, he had nothing. He died himself in loneliness. In another past life, she was an African girl in a village where the men all went off to fight and not many men came back. And it was the trauma of that was inside her. And by the way, in these cases with this particular client, there wasn't massive trauma. It wasn't massive sobbing and screaming or anything like that. It was just low level stress and grottiness that had all built up inside her. Another past life, she was in Scotland and her brother died in the snow, and it was a man. She was a man in the past life. Had to go and find him and bring his body back to the village. But there were two ancestors' lives. Both of them, interestingly enough, were at sea. And she didn't know about these ancestors. These were way back. I think one was her great 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 grandfather on her father's side, and he was a fisherman going out to sea in his fishing boat, like a trawler, as we would say, catching fish. And he was quite used to this. It's a tough existence, but he was a hard man. But then on one of the fishing trips, it was very stormy, and one of the young lads fell overboard and was lost and drowned. And that really got to him. The guilt of that was so immense. It was just, I should have been there. I could have helped him. I should have seen it was going to happen.
Right.
And then in the next past life, in the next ancestor's life, again, a great great grandfather, he was working in a shipbuilding yard. One of the senior mechanics, building some massive, great big ironclad ship. And it was going on a maiden voyage, and there was a problem with the engines, and he had to fix it, and he had no time to fix it. So the stress of that, trying to get this engine fixed, so because financially this is going to be a big financial mess otherwise, that really got to him. And so eventually he did fix it, and he felt a lot of relief and a lot of release. So that again is like a past life. It's going back into trauma in the ancestor's life, feeling it and letting it go. And as a result of that, all that work, the teeth grinding eased as well. That stopped as well.
Wow.
So anxiety went away. She was much calmer, much more
Yeah.
focused.
Yeah.
And that's
Does
sort of
that,
regression therapy.
excuse me, sorry. Does that come down genetically as well?
Yes. Well, in the way to think of it generally is it's in the genes. It's a genetic memory, you could say. It's something that's in the genes. Having said that, I have found that sometimes it can't be in the genes, because sometimes we're working through the death of an ancestor. Well, how does that get passed down through, if you're working through your grandfather's death, how does that get passed down through your mother? Because it can't be in your mother's genes, because it can only happen, the trauma must happen before your mum is born, you could say. So I've found that sometimes it's stuff that even isn't in the genes. It's like an energy that comes down energetically, and that I can't explain.
Right, an energy memory?
That's some form of energetic memory.
Or imprint.
In some way. How
Yeah.
that comes down, I don't know. But we work in it the same way. We release the trauma and the client gets better. So that, in essence, is regression therapy.
Yeah.
Opening
How
it.
is it that we're at this point functional in any way
I'm
with all
sometimes
of
amazed.
these
Well,
things?
I'm not sure that we are functional, to be honest.
Yeah.
Honestly, Barb,
That
when you look at the
answers
state of the
that.
world,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, this the father of inner child therapy is a man called John Bradshaw, and he, in one of his books, he states that in his opinion, only 4% of people are truly functional. That means that 96% of us are screwed up in some way.
And we're going to
To be
kill that
honest,
4%.
well, I don't think I've ever met any of the 4%. I would say it's probably closer to 1% of people are truly functional.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on the one hand, it explains why the world is in such a mess in a way. On the other hand, it gives me great admiration for human beings who are still courageous enough to come through each day with all the challenges of life, to want to grow, to want to become more spiritual and more compassionate, with a great big backpack of emotional crap on our backs.
Right.
So it makes me I admire humankind immensely, because we need great courage to go through what we go through, and we do. So that's the other part of this. And of course, what happens is, if you release the traumas, then you become much freer. You can live your life so much more easily.
Right. How does it change who you are, though? So let's say if you come in and you're coming in with trauma, and then you start to release that trauma, you're becoming somebody else, right?
No, not at all. No. What happens is this. First of all, if a client is working on a specific issue, let's say depression, for example,
Right.
and we're working on the roots of depression. But depression, by the way, is always caused by locked-in anger. And we're working from the roots of depression. That will be in this life, past lives, our ancestors' lives. We work in that successfully, the depression just dissolves away. So the client is no longer
So you
depressed.
become more truly yourself.
That's it. That's exactly it. You become freer. You become less reactive. What that means is that when things in life or challenges, we all get triggered by things.
Right.
But instead of being reactive like this, where you're going up and down, you become reactive like this. And life becomes easier. And my belief ultimately, I think, with enough great therapy and wisdom, then it's possible to come like this, to almost have nil reactivity, which is extraordinary. That's like being a saint.
Those are the people I don't want to work for me.
Those for me
not engaged, you know. Yeah.
Yes. So I think, that for me, what the great therapy does, it sets you free. It doesn't change you. It doesn't change your personality. It doesn't make you something that you're not. It actually brings you back to the real you, the real corp that you are, this spiritual being in a human body, which is no longer being triggered by the outside world. And if you're able to live life in that way, not being triggered, not being reactive, that for me is enormous freedom.
Have you ever felt it?
Occasionally, yeah. I mean, I must admit, I've done a lot of work on myself over the years.
Right. But not only that, but in observing and working with other people, are you getting released as well? Is there a feedback, I'm
not sure. That's a good question. I never thought of that. I don't think so, unless I can learn something. If there's something that I haven't been aware of, from a client's perspective, and it strikes me, I didn't understand that. Now I've got a bigger perspective on something, and that can certainly help me. Having said that, I think as much as anything else, what my work has done for me is helped me to become more compassionate and, to be much less judgmental of people.
Right.
Okay, some people are arseholes and they deserve a good kick up the backside. But most of us, Richard Strauss, the classical composer, said all men are struggling. And we've all got stuff. And so therefore, I think being a therapist, you start to look at the world differently. You notice that everybody's got stuff, and often it isn't their fault because it's stuff that's happened to them. And that doesn't excuse people doing bad things. It just means that everybody's struggling. And so therefore, for me, I know the work I do I was a Buddhist for many years, and of course that's all about compassion. But for me, it's about being more compassionate, and I think it's the work I do has helped me to do that.
When you regress somebody, you're separate as a therapist. You're somewhat removed. You're not reliving with them. You're not there with them. You're observing.
Yes. And when I'm training therapists, I always say, yes, we are touched. I mean, we hear some horrible stories, really do, Bob, that really hurt you. And yet you've got to be there for the client. And any therapist, counselors, talking therapists, whatever, know that you have to hold the space for the client. So for me, it's about being separate, but being compassionate at the same time. I think the only time I ever cried in a therapy session with my client, and he was in trance, so he didn't know I was doing this, was a gentleman who his wife called me, and she said, my husband's got depression, severe depression. He just sits at home all day, can't work. But she said, our 7-year-old son died 2 years ago. My husband's never recovered, and he won't talk about it. Do you think you can help him? I said, well, let me see him. And he came, and this poor man, basically, they had 2 children, and one of the sons got cancer. So the husband took on the full-time job of caring for him whilst his wife looked after the other son. Okay. So this poor man, and I guided him into trance. And now he wouldn't talk about it, but once it was in trance, it's as if the barrier was removed and he was freer to talk. And he just talked me through all of the things he could remember in those 2 years, from the son getting ill, getting more ill, having treatments, being with him in hospital as he died, etc. And as he was going through this, he was crying most of the time. And I was crying. I had a 7-year-old son. I was crying gently. I wasn't sobbing or anything ridiculous. He didn't know this. So if I had to say something to him, I composed myself and then said in a strong voice. But all the time I was thinking, what would I be feeling if I was in his position?
Yeah, you were living with them. Yeah.
I really was. So, but that's the only time, I'm always separate. But on the other hand, I'm so in there because I'm so in the experience with my clients. Excuse me.
Right. but you can maintain a neutrality mostly.
Very much so. Yeah. I think that's important, especially, and some of the client experiences in regression can be pretty big. Some people go into very emotional things, and that's great. We've got to get the emotion out.
Right. That's the job. Yeah. To release
nobody
this.
dies from crying. Virginia Satir, the wonderful family constellation therapist, she used to say, nobody dies from crying.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's okay.
So that's energy movement.
That
to me, that's energy movement.
Yeah. Well, the analogy I use, Bob, is that we all have an emotional pressure cooker inside us. And every time some trauma happens, we take the lid off the cooker, we put the trauma in the pressure cooker, we put the lid on. Right. For most of us, that pressure cooker is already half full before we're even born from stuff in past lives and our ancestors' stuff. Then we go through this life, and now that pressure cooker bubbles and bubbles and bubbles. Right. We are reacting to that 24 hours a day with depression, with anxiety, with lack of confidence, with whatever, with physical illness, etc.
Self-sabotage, self-hate, all of it.
You name it, trichotillomania, whatever. Regression is about going in the session, opening the pressure cooker, letting some pressure out by crying a little bit or talking about stuff in trance or releasing the energies, putting the lid back on. And we keep doing that session after session. As we do that, the pressure drops. And space, that is healing and well-being. So if we're able to, with enough sessions, we can empty that pressure cooker. And the healing a person gets when that is done is extraordinary.
That is amazing. And then we can start filling it up again.
But we're less reactive now. We don't
react true.
As we did. So it's harder to fill it up. But also, of course, with the law of radiation attraction, when that pressure cooker is full of emotional gunk stuff, we attract stuff towards us, which is negative. When we empty the pressure cooker, that's full of positivity. You start to find positive things come towards you quite naturally. So it really is, for me, about releasing that pressure cooker, emptying it as much as we can.
Right.
It's not fun. It's not fun therapy, but it's damned effective and incredibly powerful.
And it's not, you'll say it's not fun, but it's not the traumas of the original.
No, you're not.
I've been through, past lives with you. And there's a emotional neutrality to a certain extent.
Yes.
I mean, you recognize it, but you're not living it to that extent.
As you said earlier, there is that separateness in most cases.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're working with somebody on the ancestral, you're clearing them, you're releasing them. Is that release all the way up the line to the ancestor?
That's a brilliant question. There is this concept in shamanism that we're working with the ancestors up to 7 generations back. And so there is this concept that the ancestors are still around in some way energetically. I'm sure you know that from the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
They're still energetically there. And as we're healing ourselves of their stuff, it is healing them as well.
So it goes up the line.
And so well, I can't say for definite, because again, it's sort of an esoteric thing. But I've certainly had clients who, in trance, once we've done some work, let's say on their great-great-grandmother, and they've relived trauma in their great-great-grandmother's childhood and released it, often at the end of the session, the great-great-grandmother will come through to the client while they're in trance.
Oh, wow.
Thank them for doing the work.
And
love to them. So that sometimes happens as well, which again, you say, are people imagining that? I don't know, but it happens regularly. So my take on it, I'm more of a believer in being able to heal ancestors as well as ourselves than a disbeliever.
And so let's say if they have a cousin or a sister or sibling, are they also healed from
No.
that? No.
So it's in the bloodline, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. And yet, and this isn't in the book because this is even more new.
Yeah.
There's an aspect of regression now that me and my team are practicing with and experimenting with, and it's successful. I call it surrogate regression, which is where we do regression on one person for somebody else, and that somebody else gets better. So that's the concept.
That's interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
and knowingly, those two knowing, I mean, that surrogate is with permission of both people. Yeah.
Well, to some degree with permission, it usually is. But how this started for me now, this is known into Reiki. I think in Reiki they can do surrogate work. I think, and I know in kinesiology as well, you can do work on somebody else. But usually people are touching. Even in EFT, we can do surrogate work with the tapping stuff. And I've got a wonderful chapter in the book, actually, the new book about EFT, which is possibly my greatest success as a therapist. But anyway, people have to read that in the book.
No, I'm going to bring you back to it, but let's finish this thought.
So, what happens is I have a client, sorry, I've got something in my eye. I have a colleague in Ireland who's a wonderful hypnotherapist friend. And she called me one day. She said, do you think, Burgess, you can help me? So I said, go on. She said, well, I've got a rescue dog a little while ago. And she said, this dog is very special. And years ago, she had another dog, she called it a spiritual dog. You know, it's been here before. She used to have it in on her therapy sessions in the room because it seemed to help the energies. But she said this new dog, she's like that. She's wonderful. She's got such a spiritual energy. But she said, on the other hand, she's an absolute pain in the ass. And she said she's ruthless. She won't do what I ask her to do. She follows me around all the time. She's badly behaved. She said, well, she's wonderful. She's so full of love. But she said she's such a damn nuisance.
Right.
She said, she's a rescue dog, so obviously she's seen some tough times. She said, I've been in touch with an animal seer in New Zealand, and this animal seer contacted the dog telepathically, and the dog told her that she's had trauma in this life and some past life trauma. So my friend said, do you think it's possible, Burgess, to hypnotize me for the dog and work in the dog's past life?
That's an interesting concept, yeah.
Isn't it just? So I said, well, excuse me, I don't know. That's weird. Nobody ever asked that.
Yeah.
Why don't we give it a go? So we did a session, and the dog was in a different part of the house, so it couldn't hear what was going on.
Yeah.
And my colleague, I guided her into trance, and her subconscious indicated that, yes, there was, I think, at least 2 past lives of the dogs that were causing her trauma and some traumas in this life. And we went into the first past life where my colleague was a Nazi male prison guard in the Second World War in a prison camp.
Right.
And he had a dog, and they spent all day together going around the perimeter fences, barking at the inmates, being ruthless. And of course, the dog was the dog now in this life.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's the same soul. So my colleague is a Nazi camp guard. The dog now is the dog that he had then.
Yeah, the guard dog, yeah.
The guard dog. And they worked together 24 hours a day, month after month. But eventually this young man really hated what he was seeing in the camp. And what he did, he actually helped some people to escape. And of course, the Nazis found out how it had happened. He was hauled up. They immediately just shot him and killed him. That was it.
Yeah.
So, of course, the dog is now bereft. It's lived 24 hours a day with this person who's no longer there. Yeah. And it's completely bereft. So that was the trauma.
Wow.
In another past life, there were extraterrestrials. It gets even weirder. And they were out in space on some sort of mission. They'd been away for years together in this spacecraft. They came back to their home planet to their home city. And as they docked, it's completely deserted. The whole city is deserted, not a sign of life. And they're walking through the streets. Where is everybody? And suddenly, from a vent, this green gas suddenly starts coming towards them out of nowhere and wraps itself around them and asphyxiates them and poisons them and kills them.
Oh my God, there's like a Stephen King novel.
It sounds like it, doesn't
it?
it?
Yeah.
On another planet. So we did this. And after that first session, I mean, my colleague was very shocked, of course, because this is weird stuff.
Yeah.
I saw her a couple of weeks later and she said, the difference in the dog is extraordinary. She said, you would not believe the improvement in her behaviors. She said, one of the things that has annoyed me about her, she's like my shadow. So wherever I go, she said, I'll be working in the kitchen and I'll suddenly turn around to get something from the other side of the kitchen. There's this bloody dog at my feet and I'm falling over and dropping things.
Yeah.
She said, she stopped doing that. She just sits in the kitchen door, just watching me now quite happily.
Wow.
And she said, this explains why. She said, whenever I take her out into the fields, you know how beautiful Ireland is.
Oh, yeah.
It's so green. She says, I'll take her for walks in the fields. I'm walking through the middle of the field and she is always going round the outside of the field.
The perimeter.
Looking through the hedges, looking for holes.
Oh, wow.
The same behavior that she was doing in the past life.
Yeah.
So we did 2 or 3 sessions and she said the difference is extraordinary. You know, that she said she's well under control. She's happy. She said after the 3rd session, I went downstairs to where the dog was and my boyfriend was there and we have never seen her so joyful. She was full of joy. So energetically, we'd removed the dog's stuff. So the dog was free. And now I'm thinking, well, this is not just weird, but this is important. So at the same time, I had a friend of mine in Oslo and she said, my husband has got anxieties and panic attacks. He won't have therapy with you. I've had a word with him. Do you think you could work through me for him?
Now, you didn't need his permission.
No. Well, she got it. And so I there's always this viewpoint, you should always get permission of the person. I don't think you get permission of a dog.
Yeah, no, I knew that. That's why I didn't ask that then. But actually, I'm of the mindset that why would I ask a body for permission of a spirit? Who's the smarter one here?
Good.
So that's kind of my idea about that. But I wanted to ask if you needed that.
I think in some cases, you may have to say, look, we've just got to do the work because even if this person won't have therapy, this has got to help them. We're not doing it to manipulate them. We're doing it to help them.
Well, not only that, but their trauma may be the one thing that's blocking them.
That's blocking them. So I did some work with this lady on her husband's past lives. It released the past lives and the anxiety softened right down. So what's happening now, me and my team, because I have a team of therapists who I've trained, been working for many years in my regression system. And we're all practicing this with some clients. And it's amazing how often doing the work on one person for somebody else is healing that somebody else.
Wow.
I have a client tomorrow. We're doing in the States, doing regular sessions for her 2 sons, both of whom have got a lot of baggage and a lot of blockages, and they're not happy. One's got depression, etc. One's got anxieties. And in one of their lives, so she working in one of the lives for them, past lives, he was a young man who had lost his girlfriend and wasn't happy, but he lost his girlfriend to his best friend, so he felt betrayed. So eventually he couldn't take it anymore and he attacks his best friend, but his best friend kills him. So there's a lot of trauma there. And of course, the girl in the past life, there's the same soul as the girlfriend he just lost in his present lifetime.
So he's starting to go through it again.
It's going through.
Did he lose it to his best friend or not?
His best friend is his brother now.
Oh, wow.
So it's really complicated.
Yeah.
after that session, I saw the lady a couple of weeks later for her next session, and she said, I cannot believe the difference in him. She said, he's not depressed. He's become very social. He's going out with his friends. He's even booked a holiday. She said, he's like a new man. She said, it's like he closed a chapter in his book of life, and he's now opened some new chapters. So this surrogate regression, I'm looking at very, very seriously as something that is very new. I've never read any other regression therapists doing this work. And very beneficial and very effective.
Do you know how many calls you're going to get of I need to change him?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
I know. I'm going to change somebody else.
Yeah. So we have to be really cautious about this and be cautious. But
it's fascinating. But I'm in that belief too. If the spirit doesn't want to be read or doesn't want to be accessed, it will not happen.
Anyway, quite right. Yeah.
The spirit will lock it down,
and I think as long as we work with integrity and with compassion, then we won't get much wrong.
But I'm telling you, I know a dozen people right now that are going to call you with I want to change him because it's all his fault. I know.
You've got my fiance on the line now, have you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I know. That's pretty funny. What is the weirdest that you've worked with? The weirdest regression you've done? I know you've talked about the ETs, and another thing too I want to go into is the spirit release and then the attachments, where you've seen attachments.
Yeah.
But I also want the weirdest.
I mean, so many thousands of cases.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Let me tell you an unusual one from just recently.
Okay.
Because this is unusual.
Yeah.
Because and whenever this person gets mentioned, I always take a step back and think this could be delusional. The gentleman in the UK is in the legal profession, so he's no fool, and he's struggling to have relationships. He can't stay in a relationship with a woman. He's divorced now, but if he gets in a relationship, he gets bored with it very quickly. There's no energy in him.
Right.
It's just like he's just got this constant pattern of just getting into a relationship, and it just doesn't last for long because he can't be bothered. And his subconscious said there are some past lives here. And he went into a past life where started off quite normally. He is a fisherman a long time ago, wearing robes, you could say, working. He's got a boat, a boat with his team who work in the fishing and the nets, pull the fish in. They go back on shore. It's a desert, sandy beach. And they sell the fish to the local community. That's how they live. And then he said, as he's explaining this, he then said, there's a man there talking to people. He said, he looks very much like Jesus. And I thought, because if people start seeing Jesus everywhere, you're like, oh, come on, it's too easy. But I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Now, and he said, actually, I think it is Jesus, he said. And he teaches us things. He comes to our homes and he teaches how to meditate, and he talks to us about spiritual things. Okay. And then goes back. Then Jesus disappears out of the session, and he said, okay, we're back on the ship, on the boats, we're fishing again. And he said, I'm older now. He said, I'm a lot wiser. I don't have a relationship. He said, I meet Jesus sometimes, and he teaches a small group of us how to develop ourselves spiritually, especially through meditation. But I keep thinking about all of our fishermen in the area. Why don't we all create a collective whereby instead of us all going out individually, because sometimes one boat will get a good catch that day and another boat will get nothing.
Right.
He said, we all go out, and then when we get back, we share everything, pool it all, and then share the finances. So he says, I explained this to the fishermen, and they're all a bit skeptical. They think I'm just trying to make money. But we agreed to try it. And he said, it actually works. We create a small collective. And he said, this goes on for some years. And So I said, okay, what about Jesus? He said, well, he just seems to disappear. He's not in our lives anymore. So I said, okay. And I said, but what about you? He said, well, I get older and older. Eventually I die. I said, do you have a relationship? He said, no, I'm celibate in that life. Something feels right to be celibate in that lifetime. So I said, what about Jesus? Was he celibate? Oh, no, he said, straight away. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Immediately. Oh, no, he has
Yeah.
a beautiful woman. There's this woman, she's absolutely beautiful. And she's with him in a big way. She's there all the time, very intelligent woman. Okay, I said. And then that was it, really. That, you know, dies in his hut in old age, feeling quite fulfilled.
Right.
Now, why I'm saying this is unusual, Bab, is because what you would expect is somebody in a past life with Jesus as a fisherman would immediately say, you know, I am Peter, I'm one of the apostles.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah. That's what I was
am,
thinking. Yeah.
this is me. I'm
They're
an
not
important
saying I'm
person.
Judas, though.
Well, no, but you know, Jesus is there all the time. You would think, oh well, I go off with Jesus. I'm one of his father. We go to dinner together. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that. Jesus appeared, came in and out, and then there's no more Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, so for me, that proves the reality of what he's experienced. Because if he was deluding himself, he would have wanted to be Jesus's best mate or whatever.
Right.
He wasn't. Jesus is in his life, but not part of it. And he's lived, and Jesus teaches him, etc., etc. Now, I found that fascinating.
Right.
I absolutely found that fascinating because, and that for me is real because it sounded real.
Yeah.
You know,
Were you waiting for Jesus to walk out on the water?
yeah, well, that type of thing, or he's on my boat now and stuff like that.
Right.
None of that. So,
but I understand what you're saying. Jesus was real. Jesus was a real person, a normal person, in a normal life. Came in and left, and you know.
well, of course, and all the story about Mary Magdala. You know, and if you read the what I call the Gnostic Gospels, the early Christian text, the stuff before the Bible was written, Mary was Jesus' favorite disciple. That's in the Bible. He got airbrushed or quietly ignored.
Ignored, but then she became the whore, you know.
Exactly. So then they turned her into the whore. But you know, so for me, I just found it fascinating that he didn't go down the obvious route of me and Jesus, or I see him being crucified and things like that.
I'm Peter and I changed the world. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, it might not be the weirdest.
People do you get come in and say, well, I'm the Queen of England, or I'm, you know?
Well, that's the other thing, you know, Bab, and this is the accusation that is thrown at past life regression therapists. All of your clients claim to have been famous in their past lives. They've all been Henry VIII or Cleopatra.
Right. None of them coming in and saying, I'm Joe Schmo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, for the first 10 years of my career, anybody who claimed, I read about, you know, Mary, what was her name? Shirley MacLaine, the actress claiming to be Emperor Charlemagne the Great's concubine. And I read about that and I thought, oh, that's just ego, Shirley. You know, you're just a peasant like the rest of us. Because for years of my career, all of my clients were ordinary people in past lives. You know, fishermen, soldiers, shopkeepers, publicans, peasants, whatever. But that all changed when one day a lady called me and she said, and I write about these in my first book, Famous Past Lives, by the way. She said, I work in an office and there's a man in the office. We're good friends. You know, we're not in a relationship, just good friends. She said, but the other day he passed me a file and our hands touched. And immediately I got this electric shock that went through my body and this image in my mind's eye of a woman with long flowing robes, feeling, and long hair, feeling very agitated. She said, it just came like a flash, but she said, I haven't been able to get that out of my head for the last week. And whenever it comes, I feel very anxious. What is it? So first of all, I said, well, it could be vodka, but she said, no, it isn't. She doesn't drink. So I said, it could be past life, come and see me. So she came for a session and I guided her in trance. And remember, for your viewers, that trance hypnosis is just a state of relaxation, nothing weird. We're not floating around the room or anything odd. We all go into trance every day, quite naturally, 24 times a day. I guided her into trance and she went back into this picture, but she started to live the memory. She was this woman in long, flowing, very regal robes in an old oak panel room, pacing the floor with agitation, waiting for somebody. Where is he? Where is he? She was even strumming her fingers on the arms of my reclining chair while she was in trance. She was so agitated. And then the door opens and this man comes in dressed in these very fancy clothes. And they fall into each other's arms and it's kissy, kissy, huggy, huggy stuff.
Right.
And I thought, okay, that's the man in the office. They've obviously from a past life. I thought, okay, fair enough. Standard stuff for me.
Yeah.
But let's move a bit more. So I said, well, go to another time in that life. And then she had me sitting on the edge of my seat. She said, I'm sitting in a big room on a throne, raised up, and there are hundreds of people all sitting looking towards me. And then a man comes over to me and he does this bow and he says, Your Majesty. Oh, I thought, okay.
Yeah.
To cut a long story short, we found out that she was the reincarnation of Queen Elizabeth I.
Wow.
Okay, one of the daughters of Henry VIII.
Yeah.
And the man, and this is historically known, this is in the history books, was Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester. And they, it's known, had a love affair. Believe that it was never consummated. It actually was, but it's believed it wasn't.
According to what they said, right? Never got.
Yeah, exactly. Historians don't like it.
Yeah.
But what she did in our sessions, she enjoyed this extraordinary love affair that Elizabeth had with Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, that is mentioned in history books. But she put flesh on the bones of this glorious love affair.
Right.
And it fell apart when he asked her to marry him, but she couldn't do that because she was royal and he was just a member of nobility.
Right.
And so she had to finish the affair at that stage and it broke her heart. And so we put flesh on the bones. There's a lot more in the book about it, but just so what then happened is I'm thinking, well, maybe some people have to be famous in past lives because somebody's got to be those people.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But then what happened is another lady got in touch and we did some sessions and she appeared to be the sister, the elder sister of Queen Elizabeth, Bloody Mary, Queen Mary. And we did sessions with her. And the historical specific information that she came up with in our sessions, she would never have known. She was just a housewife who'd never read a thing of history.
Right.
I had to go to history books and I found everything she said was there in specific detail. I'm thinking, there is no way on this earth, if she was not the reincarnation of Queen Mary, she wouldn't have known that information.
Right, right.
So, and then what happened, the universe starts to send me quite a few people who appear to have been very famous in past lives. Most recently, I've been working with the reincarnation of Alexandra, the wife of Tsar Nicholas II, who died at the start of the Russian Revolution when all of the family were murdered.
The whole family, yeah.
And the misery that woman went through in her life has come through in the regression sessions extraordinarily. So I used to be quite skeptical about the famous stuff, and it doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't.
Right.
And to be honest, when you know what you're looking for in regression, because I've been around a bit, over 15,000 sessions.
Right.
If somebody is fantasizing, it's obvious.
Oh,
it's
it is. Yeah.
Obvious.
Yeah.
It's just the quality of the session is so different to a real past life. So now I'm a bit more open-minded about that. The famous.
Right. Well, what happens though if you're a queen, and now you're working in an office? How's that work out? Nobody's serving you dinner,
Yeah. Well, I mean, this lady was quite regal in this life. Her mannerisms were quite regal and quite royal, the way she held herself, the way she spoke. But of course, it's just over many lifetimes. We do everything. We've killed, we've been killed. We murdered, we've been murdered. We rape, we've been raped. We've been rich, we've been poor. We've been man, we've been
but
woman.
when you're that lifetime is coming into this lifetime. When you're very wealthy, it's hard to worry about the rent.
Yeah, yeah, of
How
course.
did
Yeah.
those two come together and there not be resentment or, demands, a demanding person?
Yeah, I never thought about that. And it could be. I never thought about it. I mean, I didn't know the, let's say, Queen Elizabeth lady that well. I just met her for
Yeah,
session.
yeah.
But it could be that maybe she had a bit of a chip on her shoulder in this life.
Mm-hmm.
I did get the sense that she was quite strong in the way that she lived her life.
Right.
Maybe she had a chip on her shoulder, which was there because of resentment.
I would think that'd be hard, as you're vacuuming, sweeping up the dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
you remember yourself as a queen.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be pretty tough. It'd
Yeah.
mess you up.
Yeah. Very
I
much
know.
so.
Pretty
And yet, of
well.
course, that again is the learning. I mean, the thing is, for rich people, they have to learn to be compassionate in this life
Right.
because they're not learning anything otherwise.
Right.
So,
Right.
and then if you're not learning anything, then you're going to come back next time and you're going to be very poor
Right. You're
because
going to be
everything
forced to
counterbalances
know
it.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that coming from wealthy to very poor,
very poor. Yeah.
that has got to be a brutal life.
It really is. It's a kick in the teeth, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It'd
Yeah.
be very
Yeah.
hard to do.
Yeah.
Tell me though, what about Charles Bronson?
Yeah, well, what it was, the story about Charles Bronson is known as England's most violent prisoner. He spent over
Right.
half of his life in jail. He's 68 now, I think.
And what
And
did he do?
well,
Because I'm
this is,
not familiar with him.
American people generally won't be. In the UK, he's very well known. He's been in the papers lots.
Well,
He
for
was,
one thing, you only have a couple violent people. We got a whole nation.
yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Charlie stands out because he was an armed robber. He
Hmm.
never killed anybody. He's got a very strong moral compass in his own way. He's never killed anybody, never molested any woman or anything like that, because an armed robber kept getting caught. And he kept
Right.
getting caught and he
So he
kept getting
wasn't
long
even a good
sentences.
one.
No, no. He absolutely won. He told me, he said one day, he said he went into a post office in the UK with his sawn off shotgun. And there were people in the post office. And he said he fires the shotgun up in the air to scare everybody, get them down on the floor. The whole ceiling fell on him. So sometimes things go wrong.
Right.
But he was a real character, but he's a strong man.
Right. Did
I
you
mean,
work with him directly or?
I didn't do regression. Now,
Yeah.
I was in the prison. I was teaching the prisoners meditation and doing stress management with them.
Right.
So the prison didn't want me to do hypnosis. They wouldn't let me, which is quite ridiculous, but that's the prison system. Because I could have done so much good. I mean, some of the younger lads in there are desperate for therapy. 85%, at least 85% of them come from broken homes and abusive backgrounds.
Right.
They need therapy to heal them. So, but Charlie, a hard man, he came up the hard way in London, East End of London. Big man. He's built like a bear. He does about 3,000 press ups a day.
Wow.
He sleeps on the floor so he doesn't get soft.
Oh my
And
God.
in prisons, he's had these protests when he's eventually ended up on the roofs of prisons, and he's done $250,000 worth of damage, throwing the roof slates off and things like that, taking a couple of people hostage in prison and stuff. So, he's a hard man, but the prison system has done its best to crush him, and it hasn't succeeded. He's been in cages in solitary confinement for months on end, and he's come through that. And many people nowadays believe he should be released because, he's served his time. He understands what he's done wrong, and he needs to be out. So, but what we found, and this is just in the few months in the prison with me and these other teachers, we found that he had an incredibly creative gift inside him. There was a little boy inside him who was incredibly artistic. And we fostered that. And wow, he absolutely blossomed. He found out that I was a I was a writer in part-time. So we sat and started to write a radio play together, which was his idea. And you can see what we wrote in the book, or part of it in the book. Brilliant.
Right.
He was drawing, he was painting, he now calls himself Charles Salvador, after Salvador Dali. And he sells his works of art for charity for children.
Wow.
And, I mean, a transformation. But he'd been in the system all of those years, and they're doing the best to crush him. But we found this creative gift, and he's a genius. He's amazing.
That's amazing. Is he still in, or did he get out?
Still inside. He came up for a parole hearing last year, and they turned him down, which I think stinks, because he's done his time. There are murderers and rapists who are doing
who are getting out before him. Yeah,
which is shocking. So
why are they so against him, though?
Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, with the right help coming, because he'd have a hell of a job coming out.
Well, that's the other thing. He's safe in there too.
He's institutionalized. How do you live in the modern world? But with the right help and the right approach, he could be helped out to reintegrate back into society, just in a gentle way. And it would be the humane thing as well. It's not an issue. He's not going to hurt anybody anymore. He's done his time. He knows that. And I have a lot of time for him, actually. He's one of the most fascinating people I've ever met. He really is. Now,
they won't let you regress him, right?
No,
but can you do it by surrogate?
With his permission, that would be possible, yes.
Yeah. Now, you would ask for his permission.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I have a lot of time for Charlie, and I got on very well with him. We just seem to click. We really seem to click, and
and then you reach something inside of him that,
hopefully so. To treat all people with compassion, and maybe he saw that. But I have a lot of time for Charlie. So, the stuff in the book is about, and some of the stories he told me, which are not repeatable, but they're in the book. We won't repeat them here, but he has been hysterics.
I'll take a look. Yeah. Right. But that is interesting. Do you think you will ask him about the regression?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think it might be, no, it probably wouldn't be the right thing to do. If he heard this and got in touch with me, then fair enough. We could maybe do it. But I know he has a son. He has a son who's been trying to get him released for a number of years. But
how about the entities?
Yeah, well, this is an aspect of regression which very few people want to acknowledge, but it appears that people can get spirits attached to them, and these spirits affect us. We pick up on their energies. Now, most of the spirits are helpless, lost, forlorn. They're not evil or malevolent or anything like that. It's very unusual.
Is this like a possession or an attachment?
Well, we call it attachment.
Yeah.
So possession tends to be stronger. It's as if they almost
take over
the person.
Yeah.
Whereas an attachment, it's like they hook into your energy field. And if they're unhappy, then you're unhappy. And you pick up on their energies. Some are stronger than others, but a lot of them are just there because they haven't moved on. They've died in confusing circumstances, or they've died very quickly and they don't know where they are.
Right.
And they don't go to where we should go when we die and move on into the spirit world. And they stay.
Are there any that are attachments from other dimensions that are just trying to experience without doing it? Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I don't think I've ever had that.
Yeah.
I don't think, but certainly I've got a colleague, Mark Beale, who's a regression therapist, and actually his new book's been published about the same time as mine by the same.
I think I had him on.
He's a lovely fella.
Yeah.
A very good therapist, very experienced. It's interesting. We both work in the same way but differently.
Yeah. So you have your own techniques.
We're both chefs, and we both have our own recipes, but my herbs and spices are different to his herbs and spices.
Yeah.
You could say. So, but he works a lot with spirit and spirit release work, and it may be he may know more in terms of, could it be that we can come from other dimensions onto Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a client with that. But it's about then releasing that spirit and sending it home. I don't even like the word entity, because that to me sounds negative.
Well, what would you call it otherwise?
Spirit attachment. Just
The
spirits.
spirit attachment, yeah.
And
you've worked with that. You've seen
regularly.
that.
Yes, yeah. And again, I've got some, I think, lovely experiences in the book that I share about this. I mean,
give me one, because I want to see how they impact.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm saying that most of them are not harmful. They're just a bloody nuisance.
Right.
But they do harm us because we pick up on their energies. But I did have one which was a bit more unpleasant than that. A mom brought her daughter to see me, and the daughter, I think, was about 13, 14, 15. And she'd been having problems for years. She didn't feel herself. She was anxieties. She was unhappy. She was depressed. These are classic, spirit attachment scenarios. But she said, this voice keeps talking to me in my head. Now, this was not a psychiatric case. This is a normal girl in a normal school. But this voice, and she said, sometimes when I look at myself in a mirror, it's as if I can see half of myself out of myself. And hairs on the back of my neck ran. I thought, ooh, that sounds like spirit attachment. But I'm not going to say anything, because obviously I can't lead my clients. That would be so wrong. So I said, well, let's do a bit of hypnosis. So I guided her into trance. And a subconscious said there was nothing to work on in regression. But I asked, because I use this technique where I use people's fingers to answer things. Are there any spirit attachments here? And the subconscious said, oh, yes, definitely. So we started to work to release these attachments. One of them was a young boy, and this boy was just lost. He died, he didn't know where he was lost, and he was just hanging on to her because it was another human being he could hold on to. So we sent him home. He went into spirit nicely using what we call a spirit release process. But she said, there's a man, she said, and he's all dressed in black, and he's standing over by your bookshelves, which are behind me in my office, standing over by your bookshelves, and he's running his fingers across the books. When she said this, the room went cold.
Wow.
And this tingle went right up my, shrew, I felt that. And so we did some work to send him home. And I don't know, he wasn't there anymore. But whether he's gone home or not, I don't know. When I say send him home, send him back fully to spirit. Move the spirit into the spirit world so they can go and heal and be reborn.
Right.
We thought that may have happened, but I wasn't sure. Anyway, we finished the session. I brought the girl out of trance. She felt a lot better in herself. She felt a lot clearer and lighter. Now, I was expecting Mom to be very angry with me. She'd brought her in for hypnosis, and we end up doing spirit release work.
Right.
Well, the Mom turned to me and she said, do you know, I thought it might be that.
Wow.
So they left. Now, at that time, I was living for a period in a house where I was living in the house, but I used one of the rooms as an office. And this session finished. It was a late session. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening. And the house didn't feel right. And I felt something was watching me. And I tried to shake it off. I went to bed, and I wasn't comfortable. A very strange night. I was restless. Whenever I woke up, it felt like there was something there. And this went on all the next day. So that was the Friday night. This happened all the day through the Saturday. I was feeling uncomfortable and watched. So at Saturday tea time, I called a friend who was an ex-white witch who used to do house clearances. He would go to houses and clear them of spirits.
Right.
And I said, Andy, I think I've got a spook here. Do you think you can come and move it on for me, please? Oh, yeah, of course I can, Burgess. She said, yeah, fine. I'll come tomorrow morning. I said, can't you come tonight?
Yeah.
I said, I'm busy. Okay. So I had another restless night. It was weird. I was something, all the time. There was something there. It didn't feel right. the next morning I woke up and it felt different. And Andy came and he smooched, went around the house. He said, "It's gone, Burgess. It's not here." He said, "It's actually gone." He said, "I think what's happened," he said, it didn't feel comfortable here. The energy here is too light. Obviously, you're
Oh,
aware.
I see. Yeah, yeah.
But he said, the men in black, there's the ones that you've usually got to be cautious about. They're the ones you
Wow.
need to watch for. So it was obviously not a nice one.
Yeah.
That it was just mooching around me and then think, okay, I'm off. They'd be easier meet someplace else.
Yeah, I can work better through somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
hadn't sent it home, but at least it had gone from the girl. That was the main thing.
Wow. How did they pick who to attach to? Or do you not know?
Well, I think it's random. Well, two things. Sometimes they will come through from past lives.
Mm.
Sometimes they have been with us over several past lives. Often at the start, let's say they've been with us for 3 past lives. 3 past lives ago, you probably killed them or you
Wow.
have history with them. So they're coming through in each past life as a spirit to try to get your attention.
Yeah.
In some way, or to harm you in some way, or to cause you problems. That can happen. So what we've then got to do is go back into the past lives in regression, release that, and then work through to release the spirit now. But more often than not, it's a pretty random process. If we're depressed, we are perfect. Our energy is perfect for them. It's all spiky.
Yeah.
If we're living freely and our energy is high, it's harder for them to hook into us.
Oh, I got
So,
it. Yeah.
low energy is perfect. Being in pain and sick a long time is perfect. Hospitals are great places to pick up spirit attachments.
No,
Because
geez.
they're full of dead people. And
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
usually
yeah.
feeling horrible. So it's important. People can stop it. All you've got to do is make the intention for it not to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Take control. So if you've got some hospital stuff, I was in hospital 4 weeks ago. I had a bit of surgery. And before I went in, I'm sending out to the universe, I am a sovereign being, and all the time I'm in hospital, I am completely free, and no negative spirits, no negative energies to come anywhere near me. So
Right.
send that out as an intention, and in hospital you can do the same. So usually you can protect yourself, and of course, obviously, a lot of psychic people will visualize shields and light
Right.
energy
Bubble
around
you,
you, bubbles, that type
put
of
your
thing,
bubble
force
around you.
field,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that will suffice. But sometimes you can just be in the wrong place. You can maybe walking past a cemetery and you're feeling crap, and something is hooked into you, and you
And
don't know.
what happened to the spirits though that they're here? Why did they not move on?
Often, like I said, often they're just lost. They don't know that sometimes they don't even know they're dead.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they are scared to move on. They may feel guilty. They may have done bad things in their life.
Mhm.
Of course, the religious nonsense, hell. People have been brainwashed with hell.
I
Hell
know.
doesn't exist. There's no such
I,
place as hell.
yeah. A
But they've
lot of
been
Catholics
brainwashed.
are afraid to die.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist. If it existed, I'm doing past life regression into death, into spirit, day after day. I would have had clients in hell experiences time after time. It has never happened because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, and I can categorically state that, it's just a belief system that was created to scare people. And it scares people enough to stop them from moving on in spirit because they think, if I move on, I'm going to be punished for what I've done in this lifetime.
Hmm.
Whereas, of
You
course, it's
know,
the opposite.
you mentioned earlier about the person pulling the hair out. You said that's self-punishment.
Yeah,
What would self-punishment be from? That they believe that they behaved badly or were a terrible person in another life?
that could be there. It could be that they've been told in this life that they're just a bad person,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and they're not good enough, or
Mhm.
as children do, especially in trauma. I mean, think about a child who is sexually abused. The child will often believe that it is his or her fault.
That they did it. Yeah,
Yeah,
they did it.
and so
Mm.
therefore, I need to be punished. I will punish myself.
I
So
see.
that can go on
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I just thought about I thought about it when you were saying that, and then we're into something else,
Yeah,
and
just something
I
else.
thought
Yeah.
I'd ask. All right, so I want to ask about two things. One is allergies, which you have a thing in the book about. And well, there are three things. Okay, they're big ones, some of them.
Okay,
I'm never letting you go.
no.
One is, why is the world so depressed? Is this past life coming up, or what is happening? Because so many of the kids are depressed, and then in the United States, we've got a huge fentanyl problem of, coming out, in my belief, coming out of depression.
Yeah.
Why is the world so depressed now? Is that past life coming
It
to
can be all
roost?
sorts of stuff. I mean, it really
Yeah.
can. Just on a personal level, it's trauma. So
Mm.
it's our trauma that makes us reactive. And for
Right.
some people, their reactivity is to be depressed.
Hmm.
Somebody else's way of reacting to their trauma is anxiety.
Hmm.
Somebody else's is with feeling guilty or skin problems or
Right.
alcohol problems or whatever.
But
So
why is
first of
it
all,
so prevalent now?
well, A, we've all got stuff. B, my belief is that we are being brainwashed 24 hours a day into being fearful
Oh,
because
okay.
the powers that be want us to be scared. Because the
Yeah.
more scared we are, the more they can have control over us.
Hmm.
So we are being bombarded with fear. And we have seen that over the last 5 years. We have seen that
Easy.
in
Easy.
a massive way. And for
Right.
those people who have taken the red pill, who have gone down the rabbit hole and have seen what really is happening in the world, know that they are trying to control us for various reasons. So
Mm.
they like it when we're scared.
Yeah.
We've also got big industries which are polluting us in different ways. So big pharma, which is polluting us with chemicals.
Hmm.
So, big pharma wants us to believe that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. That is a complete lie. There is no science behind that at all. Depression is caused by locked in anger. In the vast majority of cases, it is an emotional state. And what
Right.
antidepressants do, they put the lid on the emotions so we can't get to them. So you stay depressed all your life.
Hmm.
In regression, we're
And
trying to
you
get
have
at
to
the
keep
emotions.
taking medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So big pharma, the foods that we're eating. I mean,
Yeah.
sugar is such a poison. And, so many people, sugar cause depression.
Hmm.
One of the symptoms of candida, which is the yeast-based infection in the gut, candida albicans, is depression.
Right.
So, and candida needs to be fed with sugar. So if you have, most women know that as thrush, but
Hmm.
candida is in the body, and the more you feed it, the more powerful it becomes. And of course, if you stop feeding it sugar, then it craves sugar
You
more.
crave it. Yeah.
So you have to be very strict with yourself.
And
So
cancer has that craving for sugar. I've
absolutely,
seen. Yeah.
cancer is being fed by sugar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
cancer for me, I work with cancer sometimes, helping people, and it has emotional causes. It always
Hmm.
has emotional causes.
Can you clear people of their illnesses?
Oh, I've worked with many illnesses. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the main things I do is physical illness.
Yeah.
It really is. So, the lady in the book who we did the operation with, the surgery without any anesthetic, she came
Oh,
to
we
me with,
didn't get to that.
you see,
I'm
there we
telling you,
go.
you're never going away.
It's going to be a 4-hour interview, this, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I know. It might be. Yeah.
Well, she'd been given 6 months to live when she came to see me. She had
Hmm.
liver disease, very rare liver disease with tumors growing on the liver. They're not cancerous, but they get so big that they just push all the internal organs out of the
Right.
way and cause agonizing pain. And she was in pain 24 hours a day. She couldn't eat.
Mm.
She had nausea. If she ate, she was vomiting. She'd lost all of her weight. She looked like
Wow.
a stick insect when she was brought to me. She could hardly walk. She had two people helping her to walk to my office. And she sat in front of me and said, "You're my only hope. I've been given 6 months to live." And I was very lucky in that she was very good at hypnosis.
Hmm.
That was a bonus. So we started to work on the emotional causes of the illness, pain in this lifetime, childhood, two past lives. One of the past lives, she was a Native American squaw who was killed by a raiding party that came into her village, another tribe, and some, another Native American came up behind her, grabbed her, and stabbed her in the back with a knife, and killed her. And of course, it went straight through where the liver is in this lifetime.
Right.
In the other past life, she was a young teenage Polish boy who was bayoneted to death by Nazis in the Second World War, and then dumped in the river to drown. And of course, the bayonets again went in where the liver is. So in this life, she brought through this severe trauma energy in the liver. So we did a lot of sessions to heal. And what happened is the tumors stopped growing. They actually stopped growing.
Wow.
Now, at that stage, her surgeon decided he wanted to do surgery for the third time. He'd already done it twice, and it had been an abject failure. The first time he tried to do it, he damaged the liver itself. Oh. The second time, he damaged the gallbladder. She had to have a gallbladder removed. Both times, the surgery took about 4.5 hours. Wow. And she was in hospital for a couple of weeks afterwards. Now, because she was having regular meetings with the surgeon, she was stronger. She was eating. There was no pain. We'd let go of the pain. She could control pain in every way. She was no longer on morphine. She was starting to live a life again. She was putting weight on. She had something to live for. She had a young daughter, a 7-year-old daughter. She could, she wanted to live for her daughter. So the surgeon thought, okay, she's maybe strong enough. We'll try the surgery again. And when
what's he trying to do? Take out the tumors, or
no? What the surgery was to make an incision in the groin, and then through the groin thread a plastic tube, a hollow plastic tube, to the liver through the blood vessels, and then inject coils through the tube to the liver. And the idea these coils would attach themselves to the tumors and cut off the blood supply and kill the tumors. That's the theory. But she had to be conscious throughout the whole of the operation because he had to move her around. And she also had to drink a dye at the start of the surgery because it would show up when she swallowed it on a screen what was happening in the body. So he could see on screen where the tube was going and get it right. Now, the previous 2 times, she's highly allergic to everything. She drank this dye, and all she did was retch and vomit throughout the whole of the surgery.
Oh, God.
Well, you try doing this delicate, finely tuned operation on a body that's jerking all the time.
Yeah.
So when she said to me, the surgeon wants to, she came in my office, I always remember, it was a Monday morning, sat in my office, and she said, I've had a chat with the surgeon on Friday. He wants to do the surgery again. And these words came out of my mouth. We'll do the surgery in hypnosis.
Right.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right.
And then I realized that she said, oh, really? I said, yeah.
Well, yeah, now you're locked in. You got to go for it.
Well, good. Because you don't get trained as a hypnotherapist to work in hypnosurgery.
Yeah.
She said, well, I'll have a word with him and see what he says. And I was hoping
he should go for this, I'm sure.
Yeah. He said, yes. So I said, well, look, for several weeks, we were practicing going into trance for the surgery, anesthetizing her body so she wouldn't feel anything, and going through the whole surgery. And I said, let me have a meeting with him so I can explain what we'll do, and then I can ask him what he does. Right. So all I got was, oh, no, I haven't got the time for that. The surgery is at 9:30 on the Monday morning. Be there at the hospital at 9 a.m.
He didn't want to hear any part of it, huh?
No, too busy.
Yeah.
So I arrive at 9 a.m. It's chaos. They didn't have anything ready for me. They had to get caps and gowns, etc., etc. Yeah. And I got into the operating theatre, and of course all the team is there, and the client is laid on the table ready for surgery, and the beeping of the machines and the dim lights, etc. And the surgeon.
I have to ask this: were you intimidated?
I was scared.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm as a therapist, I knew what I was doing.
But that environment, yeah.
This was, in terms of being a footballer or playing at somebody else's stadium, this was not my home stadium.
Yeah.
And it was my responsibility. you know. So the surgeon looks at me and says, okay, we've got another operation. You've got 5 minutes, get going. Okay, fine.
Right.
I guided her into trance. I stayed with her throughout the whole of the surgery. I disassociated her. I took her out of her body. We had a journey around the stars all the way through the surgery. The only person who had a problem was me, because I don't like blood.
Oh.
And I looked round just at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Just as he made the incision into the groin, and this spurt of blood flew up into the air, went,
wow.
And I went, oh, I just saw that. I went green and yellow. And the surgeon
Yeah.
looked at me because I was swaying a bit. He said, are you okay? I said, not really.
Wow.
Get him a stool. He sat me on a stool, and I had to bring myself around as quickly as I could because she's my responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I fortunately did, but kept her in trance throughout the whole operation. It was over in 90 minutes. It was a total success. At the end of the surgery, he turned to me, the surgeon. He said, I have never seen anything like this in my career. It was like operating on a dead body. There were no defensive reflexes. We'll have to talk about this. Give me one of your cards and I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 29 years later still waiting for that call. But that lady is 29 years past her die-by date.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
This is the power of the mind. You know,
yeah,
the mind
yeah.
is extraordinarily powerful. And if
that
we
is something
tap into it in the right way, it's just
right.
amazing. Really,
well, I
really.
have to admit, I'm glad you didn't faint.
So am I.
That would have been a disaster.
It was nerve-wracking. It really was.
Yeah, the intimidation of that environment
Yeah.
would have been pretty tough.
Well,
to
the anaesthetist was there just in case. She was not happy. She was not happy. She
well,
spent the whole
she might
surgery.
get replaced.
Exactly. She was glaring at me. She had a face like a slapped ass. She really did. Throughout the whole of the surgery, she was glaring at me. So hoping that things would go wrong.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it went right. But yeah, it was an extraordinary experience.
Did you ever have a conversation after it was over? She was gone and you didn't want to talk to you?
Just gone.
Yeah. Wow, that is something. All right. Here are the other two things, and then I'll let you go, I swear. Unless you bring something up more interesting again.
Okay.
Is the allergies. You know, I have terrible allergies, and people around me who've never had allergies are getting them, and the allergies are getting worse.
Yeah.
And I know in your book you addressed it. I have to admit I didn't read that chapter yet.
Yeah. Well, again, in my world, the regression world, every physical issue has an emotional cause or has emotional causes. Just looking at Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, the great book on this. She says allergies, the cause is who are you allergic to and denying your own power. So her affirmation to help overcome allergies, the world is safe and friendly. I am safe. I am at peace with life. So there's an element of being allergic to people. However, I found it much bigger than that. And just one allergy was a lady, a hypnotherapist actually in Stavanger in Norway. And she had a severe pollen allergy. And she said, from spring onwards through to autumn, my life is hell. I can hardly go out the house. I have to have all the doors and windows closed. I'm constantly sneezing, wheezing, itching, really bad, severe allergic reaction to pollen. So I said, okay, we'll do some work on it. I guided her into trance, and her subconscious said this was coming from a past life. Now, this lady was quite dramatic in the session. She went back into a death in a past life. And in the session, she was retching as if she wanted to vomit all the time. She just as if she was going to vomit. And it went on. And I said, what's happening? Oh, what's happening? I'm sick. I feel terrible. I think I'm dying.
Oh, God.
This went on for the full session until she died. So this was a death in the past life that was causing the allergy.
Okay, yeah.
I thought, well, what on earth's that got to do with pollen? So we went back through it again. And this is a feature of regression therapy. We often go back through things more than once. Now, this time, The retching was less strong because we'd taken a lot of energy out the first time, but she realized she was dying of starvation. And as she was dying, she was laid on the grass and she's desperately grabbing handfuls of grass and trying to eat them to
Oh,
stay
wow.
alive. But she
Yeah.
was vomiting it all back up again.
Yeah.
So her subconscious in this life is saying grass equals death.
Oh, wow.
So when the pollen comes out, her subconscious is saying, we're going to die.
Yeah.
Pollen
Yeah.
equals grass, we're going to die. So it causes the allergic reaction.
Geez.
So we released all of that completely, and I mean this, completely cured the pollen allergy. And
Wow.
I got in touch with her a year or two later and I said, how has it been? She said, my life has been transformed now. I go out in the summer. It's amazing. I cannot believe the difference.
Geez. Yeah. We might have to talk about this.
Okay. You know,
And then tell me about tapping.
yeah,
I know
tapping.
you're a big believer in tapping.
It's a wonderful process.
Advocate. Yeah.
Yeah. Emotional freedom technique. It's where you tap on different points on the body to get rid of problems. And I was very fortunate in 2003 to go to San Francisco to work with Gary Craig, the creator of EFT, at his home with a group of other therapists from around the world. And that man is a genius. He's the most extraordinary therapist I've ever seen, even though he just calls himself an engineer, because he was an engineer by profession.
Yeah.
And EFT can work with anything. Now, you've got to do it the correct way. So, you know, you've got to tap on different aspects of a problem. You can't just say,
allergies.
Allergies.
Yeah.
That probably won't work. Having said that, for some people, it may soften things because tapping on these points calms your energy field down.
Right.
And that's good for everything. But we're usually being more specific. And the story I tell in the book, which is still for me my greatest success of my career, and you can imagine in 33 years, fortunately, I've helped a few people along the way, fortunately.
Yeah.
This case stands out. And it was a lady called me one day. She said, I have a young daughter. She's 2.5 years old. And she said, for the past few months, every evening, my husband and I, we put her to bed about 6 o'clock because we all go to bed. She goes to sleep, but by 6:40, for several times a week, we hear her screaming in her crib. And we go up to her bedroom and she's standing in her crib, standing upright with her arms spread open, with her eyes fixated on a corner of the room, and she is screaming and screaming and screaming. She said, we don't know what's going on. It takes us about 40 minutes to calm her down, and eventually she goes to sleep again. This is happening several times a week. Sometimes she then wakes up at 12:40, the same time. It's 6:40 and 12:40 on some nights, and does the same thing, but it's less severe. But then we are able to calm her down. She said, can you help? I said, well, I can't do hypnosis on her. And this was years ago, before I knew about the surrogate stuff.
Right.
But I can do this weird tapping. Bring her in and I'll do the surrogate tapping. So the lady comes with this lovely little girl. We'll call her Poppy. And she was really cute and very shy. And she wouldn't look at me. And she sat in Mom's arms all the way through the session.
Right.
And I said to Mom, we're going to tap on you for her, because you're both touching. So you are one energy field now. And I'll ask you to say things for her as I'm tapping on you. And so I started tapping on Mummy. And every now and again, the little girl was looking at me, and then she'd look away. And I'd carry on tapping. And every now and again, I'd just gently tap on her, and then I'd go back to Mummy. And I tapped, I said, even though I may have had a difficult birth and I may be carrying birth trauma, I let go of this now. And we do all these words as we're tapping on these energy around the body. And at one point, Mummy actually became quite emotional and let go of some sadness. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. And every now and again, I tap on the little girl. And we did about 30, 40 minutes of tapping. It's enough. You know, she's only 2.5. She don't want to be kept there for too long.
Right.
So I said, let's see how you go and come back in, let's say, 3 weeks. And as they left, the little girl very shyly looked at me and gave me a little wave and then left. And then 3 weeks later, Mom came back. She said, it's been like a miracle. We have not had one episode in 3 weeks. She said we had about a minute of something that like a little bit of an episode one night. It was over in a minute and done. She said it's been a miracle. We cannot believe the difference. It's extraordinary.
Wow.
And she said when we got up today, Poppy knows I've been saying we're going to go back and we're going to go see Steve again for a week or two. And she said when we woke up this morning, Poppy said to me, "Am I going to see my friend Stephen tonight, Mommy?"
Wow.
A little lip pucker.
Yeah.
And so I did a bit more tapping. We did some more tapping just to make sure. And then this lovely little girl and her mommy left, and she had a big smile on her face and she waved at me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was about 3 months later, I came into my office first thing in the morning, and there was a message on my answer phone. And it was this lady's mom. And she said, "Steve, I just wanted to let you know that since we saw you 3 months ago, we have not had one single episode." And this is from the night before. She said, "It's now 7 o'clock in an evening. My husband and I are about to sit down and have a lovely meal with a glass of wine. And we just want to say thank you so much, because if we hadn't have come to see you, then we wouldn't be able to do this."
Wow.
And I was so moved and so touched by
Yeah.
that.
How nice. Yeah.
Just so, it still touches me to think about it.
Yeah.
That lovely little girl can now live freely. I don't know what the cause was. I do not know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know what she was reacting to. But yeah, it was such a wonderful.
That is amazing
experience. Really,
yeah.
We don't do the job of being a therapist is a tough gig,
Mm-hmm.
but we do it because we're here to help. We're here to serve.
Because he can. Because he can release people.
Exactly.
It's hard to see somebody trapped in something when you can do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Little guilt there. Works great.
Okay.
You ought to take a look in your own regression. How come so much guilt? Yeah. Oh, that's great. Hey, thanks so much for being on. I've had a wonderful time. As always, I've had a wonderful time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and, hope to have you on again from Florida in the summer.
Thanks for letting me promote. Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about my experiences in Florida this summer.
Yeah.
Can I just share a couple of things as well before we go, just for your viewership? I mean, obviously my book
is... No, I definitely where to get your book. How can I work with you?
Okay, The Adventures of a Hypnotherapist is the new book. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all booksellers.
Is it out now, or is it coming?
Out at the end of June?
Okay, of 2025.
2025. It's available now for pre-order on Amazon and Barnes Noble. So The Adventures of a Hypnotherapist, I think it's my best work to date because it's so wide-ranging. And it's shocking at times, and it's funny at times. So I even cover client who had been sexually abused by a satanic paedophile ring.
All right, so you got to finish this now.
Some heavy stuff. Oh, that's too heavy for tonight.
Yeah, okay. You got to get the book.
Yes. My website is steveburgesshypnosis.com. My YouTube channel is Hypno for All, HYPNO, the number 4 ALL. And I'm always wanting people to look at that because it's my way of giving back to the world. There are some videos on there about regression, but there are 26 free hypnotherapy recordings for all sorts of things: letting go of anxiety, letting go of irritable bowel, becoming more relaxed, becoming more confident. And they're all there free. They're all me, professionally recorded. And I just want people to be out there. Obviously, I want people to subscribe to it because it's better for the algorithms. But that's one of my pride and joy is Hypno for All. My Facebook is The Power of Past Life Regression. So also for people to, if they want to keep on my mailing list, because I do my own one-man show now, The Power of Past Life Regression, which is a full evening of me sharing, like this we've done today, but client stories and acting some of them out. And people can meet me in the flesh, as it were. It's a good fun evening, but also quite shocking at times. And also if people want me to come and put my show on anywhere in the world, or especially in the US, because I divide my time between the UK and the US now. And I love the American people. I've got so much time for the American people.
Oh, good.
I really have. I'm not saying that to give you a spin. I love my time in America.
Great.
So if people want me to come and put my one-man show on, give us a call. I'd be happy to do it.
Sounds
and the
good.
last thing is I've recorded a pilot episode of a TV show with past lives in it, all about past lives. If anybody knows any TV producers out there who are interested to have a look at it,
right.
please.
And this is a pilot, so you want to do a series.
I want to do a series of
on
past life regression, because past life regression needs to be out there in a much way.
It'd be a great show. It'd be fabulous.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So
and then are you seeing people one-on-one, or?
I still see people one-on-one. I do have quite a waiting list. So what I tend to say to people is, if you don't want to wait for me, see one of my team. My team are all really good people.
And you've trained that team in your
all,
methods.
They're all trained in my regression system.
They're
all
great.
Experienced therapists.
Good.
They all work with integrity and compassion, and that's the most important thing.
Right. Hey, thanks so much for being on. It's always a thrill, always fun.
That's lovely.
Thanks so much.
I really
and
appreciate
educating.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Bye-bye.